welcome back. Episode 67 of the Gaming Enforcement Agency right here, youtube.com/Geek.Aloud, 8 p.m. Thursday night. This is us, Unky Dunky in the slot below me. How you doing in the mid-slot this evening?
Mate, I'm doing very, very well. We are 1 minute early, Troy. 1 minute early. We've done it.
Clawing back those minutes I've been late. And Bully, of course, third slot this evening. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I shouldn't say very well. I've been a bit crook while I've been on leave, and sadly enough, I was that bad the other day that I was laid up in on the couch and couldn't even muster putting a controller in my hand. So thankfully, I got most of my gaming out over the weekend and can throw some info at you at some of the games we've got upcoming.
Great work, mate. One special shout out to yourself, sir, for running your first live Let's Play during the week. Deceive Inc., mate. That was a thing of beauty to watch. Good on you, mate.
Well, I'm not sure it was a thing of beauty. We couldn't hear
it was a thing of beauty.
20 minutes of it, but
what are you bringing up old shit for?
We got there in the end, and the bonus was we won a game, so...
Perfect work. Now, let me tell all you fine viewers exactly how this here show is going to run. First up, games, interrogation, and deliberation. It's the 9. Count them 9. It's the first time we've done 9 in quite some time. You're welcome. And then we're off to the newsroom. Unky Dunky, have you been kicking indoors? If so, how many?
Well, I'm kicking indoors. I've got a pretty sore foot this week. There's been quite a few stories. I've got 7 on there. I could have gone a lot more, but the show was already big enough as it is, so I had to cull some. So I picked the best of the best, Troy, for tonight.
Great work. Speaking of the best, third segment is the standoff. Unky Dunky, what does it take to be in the running this evening for the standoff?
It'd be rude not to with Resi 4 out this week. We are looking at the most memorable Resident Evil bosses, if Troy can remember them in his inebriated state.
I do my best, but I don't make any promises. And then it's time for audience interrogation / integration, depending on which side of the fence you sit. Bully, I charge you, sir, with patrolling that there YouTube chat all evening, fishing out the gold as it comes and presenting it to Unky and I for discussion. How does that sound? Oh, Bully, you're mute. You're mute, Bully.
Got it up already, so anyone that wants to jump in the chat, we're ready to go.
Perfect work, sir. Thank you very much. And then, of course, segment 4 is that audience integration. Any that we don't get to during the show, of course, we come back and round them all up right at the end of the show. So that's right. If you're watching, please chat along, throw your comments, questions even in that YouTube chat as we go. We'd love to speak to you throughout the show. Without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Games, interrogation, and deliberation. First up this evening, we couldn't go past Resident Evil 4, could we, fellas? Now, I'll just quickly say before I hand it over to you, Unky, that this is my footage, and I've just finished, what's his name, Delago? The end of Chapter 3, the big whale fight, or whatever he is. I've just completed that. That's as far as I've gotten. I've loved my time with it. I've spent 4 hours getting there, and I'm sure that's probably the world's slowest playtime. But over to you, Unky, for Resident Evil 4.
That's right. I'll just clarify quickly that boss is a giant salamander, Troy. So
salamander. My apologies to all the salamander out there that I've offended. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Now, we're all obviously talking about Resident Evil 4. What a game so far. I know Bully's finished it, but I get to be the lead investigator on this because I'm clearly better at it than him if he has to finish it on easy. There's no way over the weekend.
What? Finished it on easy? Pump the brakes right there, Unky. Bully, explain yourself.
It's not on easy, and if you stand by, I'm going to pull up the trophy off the PlayStation. I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to shove it straight into the chat for all to see. It was done on the normal difficulty level. Thank you very much.
I love it. Thank you,
I'm sure he did if he didn't drop it down on a few bosses, but that's okay. That's okay.
Wait, I've got a question. Bully, do we have a glitch video coming for how to play it all on easy and then flick it over to the hardest difficulty right at the end for the run down the corridor? Do we have one of those in the can?
No, because that's evidence, Troy. That's evidence.
There was no need. There was one that I got very close to dropping it down, but persisted through and managed to, I wouldn't say cheese the last couple of bosses because it's, as far as I'm concerned, is legitimate if you're pulling out a rocket launcher and throwing that at him.
No,
hey, if the game gives it to you.
And it's good to see, Bully, that you're still, on air now claiming to have been sick all weekend just so the missus doesn't, gets a little bit, doesn't catch on to you being sick so you can play Resident Evil all weekend. That's all. Well done. Well played. Sorry, Mrs. Bully. No, but what other game lets you parry a chainsaw with a knife? I'd say nothing. There is no game like this. As soon as you grab that knife, that is one of the best mechanics. I think we spoke about it when we played the demo for this, that we might be a bit worried about the whole degradation of the knife and stuff. Now, everyone hated how weapons degraded in Zelda, but I think they actually do a really, risk outweighed reward with the knife here. I think there's plenty of times and options to use money to repair it. You can upgrade it and all that kind of stuff as well. But I think that's what adds to the whole survival horror stuff. If you just had this knife that you can use all the time, already you can pretty much destroy enemies with things. If this thing never broke at all, then you'd be a one-man wrecking machine just with the knife. You'd no need to use your guns. But
can I ask you, Unky, on this very point? Now,
Yeah.
I have thrown all my resources at fully maxing out that combat knife as my first point of order. Was that money poorly invested, or was that a wise decision?
No, very wise decision. And later on in the game, you'll get the ability to upgrade it even further with its durability, and a lot of that works up to 5 as opposed to 3 as well. So just keep doing that, because no matter what it is, whether it's the bigger enemies coming in there later on where you can throw a flash grenade and destroy them, or you can just run up to other enemies that are flashed and then go and get sneak attacks on them with the knife as well. So that knife is definitely worth upgrading. And Tagaro, he's in the chat there, he that's his favorite thing. He went and upgraded the knife the whole way through. I know that for a fact. So but
Good work. Hey, Tagaro.
I'm not sure what you boys were like when it came to the original Resident Evil 4. I loved that game back in the day on the GameCube.
That was my question. Was it GameCube exclusive? That's certainly where I played it first, but was it only there?
It was there. It was weird, because GameCube being Nintendo, this was exclusive to Nintendo's console for the first time, and then it came to pretty much everything else after that.
When you say after that, were we talking years later?
I don't know if it's too long, but we definitely saw it on the PlayStations and Xboxes after that, and sort of remastered versions of that as well. And obviously, we got the VR version of it more recently. I think there was
I'd love to play that. Is that Oculus Quest exclusive, mate?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Come on, PlayStation.
Before now, that was the best place I thought you could play Resident Evil 4, because that experience just far outweighed any other experience for Resident Evil 4. The fact that you could move in the VR and shoot at the same time, which you can obviously do now in these remakes versions of Resident Evil. But this game, they just keep going from strength to strength with their Resident Evil remakes. And I think they might be moving towards a new Resident Evil 9 that actually is third person. The fact that we got the third person mode in Village, I think they might be moving towards that, because I think it is people's preferred way to actually play Resident Evil, and especially now with the popularity of this, I think this Resident Evil is probably one of the most highest grossing Resident Evils for them after Resident Evil 2 remake now. So it's just
just one quick. How good's the roundhouse kick and then the knife on the ground to finish him off? I love that move.
It's all those melee attacks. They're all back from the original game, where you can shoot him in the leg and you can do full suplexes over your shoulder. You've got the quick knife attack as well with the melee attack, and they
feels a little Frank Westy.
Yeah, it does. It does really, and the physics I think are really good, and what make this combat fun is the fact that you knock anyone and they knock other people over as well. I think that's what the core of this game is so fun to play. It's just those combat encounters, the way you can use different weapons. For a weapon that I slept on initially was the crossbow bolt weapon, but then when I realised you can pick up any bolt you shoot him in the leg, do your melee attack, and if those enemies die, you get your bolts back.
I didn't know that.
The only way you lose those bolts is if you attach the mines to them. So once you get the mine thing, you attach a mine to them, and it becomes almost like shooting a grenade. It sticks to them and then it blows up. So you can do massive damage with that weapon. So ever you're running low on ammo, you just pull this thing out. And
do I need to button to pick it up, or just running over it auto picks it up?
Well, it's weird, because I saw a video where it had auto pickup, but I can't see anything in the menus that says you can have auto pickup in this. I've been hitting X to pick up everything, so including bolts from that weapon. But no, I have to give props as well I got this on PS5, and for the main reason was that DualSense feedback. I think this is one of the best implementations of DualSense feedback that we've had since Astro's Playroom. I think the way you feel the footsteps in your controller, the way the triggers work aren't too arduous. A lot of these games, sometimes I think the trigger pull is a bit too much. When it comes to that, it can be really bad for your man hands, Troy.
Well, this footage is off the Xbox Series X, where I've been playing it with the old Elite Series 2, and my fingers have been thanking me for it.
Nice, but I just enjoy even just the sound effects that come from the controller, just the sounds of the ammo reloading and the voice, the video stuff coming through from the other NPCs comes through the controller. It just adds that extra bit of immersion, I think, for the game that you'd sort of be lost on the Xbox. So I have to give props to that, because
look at Bully.
He's Googled someone else's screenshot, then he's used Photoshop. I think that's what he's been doing.
We'll just go one back to. Oh, that's Bullies. Yes, there we go.
Hey, well done, Bully. Not all of us have had time this week to finish. No, I have to, and battles are so fun to play that, but I also find myself not sure if Bully was the same, but given the fact it's already finished it, maybe not. But I like to go through my encounters with as much health and ammo as possible. So if I just fail one tiny bit of it, I'll find myself going back and trying different tactics to try and get through that bit with as much health and as much ammo as possible. And it's really fun and challenging to do so. And I cannot wait. This is one of those games, kind of, it's up there with like Uncharted and for me and for Last of Us, where I'm playing through my first playthrough, already going, I cannot wait to play through this game again in a new game plus mode with my weapons and upgrading all my stuff, and hopefully finishing on professional mode, unlocking the hand cannon and going for some of those guns with unlimited ammo, because the Resident Evil games, I don't think they're ever made to play through once, and this is the best example of that, just because the combat is so much fun to play, and there's so much game here as well. Bully can probably speak to it. Just the game is massive. Like for a single player game like this, it just keeps going and going. Bully, I think it's chapter 12. I've just not really spoilers, but the Ashley part where she gets poured the stuff in her mouth, you get kicked down to the underground caves area. I've sort of just moved that bit and hit the merchant there. So he's asked me, what am I buying? What am I selling? And I'm pretty much there. So I think I'm not too far off the island. You could probably speak more to how close I am to finish it where I am now.
Sorry, Bully, if I can jump in just before you launch, mate. Unky, give me a total count for every time since launch on the GameCube. How many times do you reckon you've seen through Resident Evil 4?
I reckon I've finished it maybe back in the day, I reckon I maybe finished it 2 or 3 times. And then since then, I don't think I've actually finished it.
Oh, I thought you did on Oculus Quest. My apologies.
No, I haven't finished it on the Quest. I played through a majority of it, but not all of it. But even now, like seeing some of the changes they've made to the story and stuff, they've clearly gone through. This isn't just a remake. This is almost reimagining, which I really enjoy. And we're just eating it up in horror games. The fact that we got Dead Space remake this year and we've already got Resident Evil, it's like, what a great year for games, and especially horror games, and even remakes / remasters / reimaginings, whatever you want to call them these days. It's always hard to slice that pie and what the difference is with each one. But I dare say this is more like a reimagining, because they're obviously doing different things in this game that they never did in that, and then they do harken on some of the stuff from the old game for that whole nostalgia hit that I pretty much enjoy.
It's great. And sorry, Bully, back to you, man. I totally derailed us.
No, that's right. I think there's 16 chapters, so you're about 3/4 of the way there, Unky. So a little bit to go, but it's funny because some of the chapters are like, they're generally about an hour to an hour and a half long. Some are a little bit shorter, but that's sort of basically a time frame. And I think there's 16 chapters. I think I was about 18-ish hours on the total playthrough on the run. So I probably haven't gone to quite the extent that Unky's gone, but it's funny when you talk about conserving your ammo and your health and that sort of stuff. It's almost perfectly put together and paced, and the way where you pick up your ammo, or where the ammo drops are and that sort of stuff, is that so often you'll find yourself going through a level and you'll be down to your last couple of bits of ammo and going, oh, do I need to craft some, or can I sort of push through? And if you push through, and unless you're spraying shots left, right and centre, generally they give you just enough ammo and a little bit spare to get you through where you need to get through before you get your next...
Was that a slight jab at my footage? Missing shots left, right and centre?
I didn't even look at your footage.
I'm forever missing shots. Sorry, mate.
No, that's right. So I actually found it like it made it more tense, I found, because you'd be... this isn't as heavy on the jump scares, in my opinion, as some of the Resi 2 and 3 and even the first one. It's and 7 and 8 were big on the jump scares as well. This sort of peels back that layer of trying to just scare you around every corner. But I felt the thrill and the rush and the if you want to categorize it as the scary part of it was, am I going to be able to get through to this bit with just this little bit of ammo left, and sort of working your way through. And sometimes you'd have to try and stealth a few enemies and work it out that way. That's where I found the enjoyment from it was. And I'll be honest, if you can wrap your head around that, because I think the first 2 or 3 chapters I sort of got to the point of going, oh, this is ridiculous. Like I'm basically always out of ammo. But once you sort of lean into it a bit and go, that's how the game's designed, that they'll give you just enough to get to where you need to get to. Yes, you can craft some, but you don't really want to be wasting your resources early doors. But if you can get your head around that's the design of the game, it really becomes enjoyable, that you go, oh, yep, I've just made it to here. And, it makes it more of an achievement.
Yeah. Have you guys,
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
just on screen now, the footage of the shooting gallery. Is this new to the game? I've never seen this before. So maybe it's been there from the start and I never played it, but have you guys had a crack and what were your thoughts?
Yeah, the shooting range was always in the original as well, and I've had a crack at this as well. So I've managed to get, I think, medallions in all categories now, and we've got
Nice.
the second part of it now, which is further in the game. I think there's another one later down the track as well. They keep adding more challenges to give you, and the rewards for those things are coins that you then put in like a little machine that then gives you little dangly things to go off your case, and they'll give you sort of different things. So I think I've currently got one on there. I'm trying to think what it does for me. There's a few different ones. One
I
where
think I've got one that's a 5% increase to sell items. The price you get is 5%
there's that.
increase.
And I reckon I've got one for if you make bolts, it creates more bolts and stuff like that as well. Which going in with the cases, you can get different cases as well, which give you different sort of perks and all that kind of stuff as well, which is nice. I usually roll with the one with that gives me extra handgun ammo because I'm rocking the Red 9 handgun, which was my favourite handgun from the very first Resident Evil 4, which you get and then upgrade with the stock, and it's easily the best pistol going around. So once you get that thing absolutely wrecks, and have an extra handgun ammo, especially if you can use that bolt to kill people and save out on ammunition, it absolutely destroys any enemies in your path.
How does that gun stand up against the one I paid for the collector's edition? So I got the other pistol, the handgun to start with, but it's got like, I think it might have started with 19 bullets in the, like it was an extended clip, I think, from the very start of the game, which I've loved. But
Yeah,
how do those two pistols stack up?
they're not bad. Like even the standard pistol at the start, once you get the red dot sight for it, it's really fun to aim and stuff, which the Red 9 doesn't have. But the Red 9's pure damage output's a lot more. It's a bit, once you unlock the stock for it, you pretty much don't need a rifle either because it's got really good accuracy. If you stand still, your little reticle will sit there, and if you move it, it doesn't get bigger like all the other ones do. It just sits on there. So
Oh, nice.
I don't rock a rifle at all. I rock the Red 9 pistol, my right shotgun at the moment, and then my dart gun, and then I'm pretty much just using flashbangs and grenades where else I can. Pretty much that's my thing. I haven't felt the need to get any of the rifles or assault rifles yet. I always find the submachine guns are a non-event for me. I never grab them because the ammo is just like spray and pray, and you just chew through your ammo. It takes up all your space in your inventory. So that's what I go for. Bully, what's your loadout look like?
Well, I found I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me in a minute. But there was one that you pick up, and I'm not quite sure if you're at it yet, Unky. It's that you come up against
Striker?
the enemies, the regenerators that.
Oh, no, they're on the island, I think.
Yeah, so they have basically the 3 sections in them of parasites that you've got to shoot, but you can't see them unless you use an infrared scope. And I think, from memory, that could only be attached to one of the semi-auto rifles. So towards the end of the game, 100% you need that one.
And believe that is why I'm increasing the size of my case whenever I get a chance, because I knew I was going to have to get that rifle at some point.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. It didn't matter what position I was in. As soon as I was offered an increased case size from the merchant, you just got to take it because you get fairly early on in the game, you get to the inventory management part of it, and it becomes quite annoying that you can't sort of carry some of the things you want. But I think I was sort of the same. Once I got the stock for the Red 9, I basically jettisoned that starting pistol, had the right shotgun, the bolts, and I managed to keep the sniper, in effect, the sniper rifle, so the bolt action rifle that you can upgrade to the next one with the scope, and I kept that one for a little while until I got the infrared scope with a semi-auto or the SMP, whatever it was, in the end. And then, as I said before, there was a couple of times, and I knew that there was some sections with the enemies coming up. I won't spoil it, but I knew there was particular enemies that were going to prove difficult, or the area was going to prove difficult to get through. So I just loaded up with a rocket launcher, and I think I used that twice. Once on there's a particular one that you've got to try and avoid while there's a lift coming down, if anyone's played the original, and there's the end boss. So I used it on both of those to sort of.
I know the rocket launcher costs 80,000. Do you have to spend that both times? Like, is each ammunition you pay for? Oh, okay, Jesus.
Yeah, so it's 80,000 a hit. But the thing with it is, so when I bought it, would have been just as you get onto the island, so probably not far from where you are, is that encounter that I used it the first time, and then it disappears from the shop. And I thought, I was reading up about it, and the general consensus was that it was a one-use in the game item, as opposed to the original that you could just keep buying it as often as you wanted, as long as you had the money.
Yeah.
So I sort of thought, oh no, I've used it on that one and I've wasted it. I won't have it towards the back end of the game with any of the harder enemies. As it turns out, by the time I got up to the end boss, it was restocked back in the shop, so I could buy it again. So there's a little trick for you. I don't know what the trigger is to get it back in there, but certainly by the end of it, it was. So it did help me out because that end boss is. I remember it being pretty difficult in the original. It's something else in this one. It took the first section of it. The second section, so it's broken into two parts. The first section of it I found really difficult until you can get him locked on with a rocket launcher. But the second part of it, I did first turn. And it's almost ridiculously easy to phase 2 of it.
Okay.
So,
that's good. Yeah, and that's
if you can get yourself through to that, I think you'll be onto the rolling the credits.
Yeah, nice. And mentioning obviously all the paying for things and all that kind of stuff, I really enjoy the exploration part of this game, being a linear game, but being able to search for all the treasures that then find. They've gone even further with it than the original, where you find different mugs or things that you can insert the gems in to get yourself even more. So you find yourself holding on to gems to put in those things to maybe get $57,000 instead of $12,000 for the same thing. And I just think that exploration part, especially if you purchase the treasure maps with after you've done the side quest to give you the extra currency to purchase that stuff. I think the way the whole currency system works and the way every mechanic feeds into itself, I just think is really, really well done gameplay mechanics that I think this is sort of elevates it on top of all the other Resident Evils we've got. I just think the way all the upgrading works, the coins, the current, everything just sort of is cohesive and just creates one really, really good gameplay package. And as we said, like it's just, you were mentioning how it wasn't really sort of scary in terms of the jump scares and stuff, but I think the way they build with the music and stuff in this game, I think there's been parts of this game where I'm just in this open hall and Bully, I'll mention a specific part in the game where you're fighting the enemies. They're not even hard. There's flying sort of bug enemies which take like 2 pistol shots to beat, but that whole area where you're in there, that music, the dread music's just playing, and this is like low dulcet tone this whole way, and you feel like there's always something there until you feel that relief when you kill that final enemy, and then there's no music, and you're like, oh, I've finally done it. But it's you're in that sort of tense mode the whole way through, even though it's not necessarily going to jump scare you, but it's just the way that music plays is just so well done.
The whole game, that music, the entire game has me on edge. Even when they cut to the quote-unquote gentle music, it still got me on edge. I cannot relax and play this game. This is not a good Troy game. This whole franchise, I find terrifying every single moment I'm in it. Boss or not, opening cutscene to rolling credits, I just find them so sitting on the edge of my seat. I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but it's terrifying.
Yeah, no, I just think this is a crowning achievement for Resi 4. I think everyone was like, oh, why would you need to do Resi 4 remake? But the first one's so good, and Lord is one of the best games ever, and they've obviously proven that this is why you do it. You make a great game even better, and I think there's already rumours going out there that Resi 5 is probably going to get the same treatment as well. Probably
the Resi I've never gone hands-on with, so bring it on.
Resi 5 is one of my favourites, and I think
not Resi 5, sorry, Resi 6.
Resi 6. Yeah, you haven't Resi 6. Resi 5, I love Resi 5, and I think it's actually one of their...
Remind me again what 5 is. Where's it set?
5's Chris Redfield, and it's set in Africa.
The Africa one. Yeah, I'm with you.
And I've been replaying that. I played that all last week leading up to the release of this, and I love Resi 5, and I think they might have taken a little bit too far with the action stuff, but I think if they can pare that back and sort of create like a Resident Evil 4 with Chris Redfield and his story, whether they weave the co-op combat in with Shiva or something as well, there could be ways to do that and elevate that experience. I would really like to see what they would do to that game to improve it, because there's plenty of improvements that can be made. But again, I love that game, what it is. I'd love to be playing as Chris Redfield with his massive triceps through that bright, sunny world as opposed to a gloomy world. But I'd love to see them do number 5.
Are you deliberately matching T-shirts with him this evening, mate? I've just noticed that.
Yeah, I was doing my best. I was going to try and grow my hair out, but unfortunately that was the case. But
you need the old pistol holster.
I do. No, I do. I've probably got more in common with Chris Redfield, to be honest, with the size of our triceps and haircut. But I cannot wait to see what these guys do next, because I mean the cadence they've got going at the moment with releasing a new Resident Evil, then going back to a remake, then going back to a new one. So I think we'll get number 9, and as I mentioned earlier, I've got a feeling whether we get an option to go first person or third person, or they go straight to third person. Now I'm not 100% sure, but
I hope they include both modes as standard moving forward. But my question for you, Unky, is this, and Bully, are they going to release one for Halloween this year? Have they got one in the chamber ready to go?
No, I don't reckon.
the VR mode for this one might be out by then.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
That's in development for the VR2, PSVR 2.
That is true. That is true. My only concern is going with first person and both third person. I've been playing. I played a lot of Resident Evil last week leading up to this. I played Resident Evil Village again, but I was playing it in the third person mode. But you can tell going between these two that was a first person game made into a third person game. It controls just that little bit differently.
Yeah.
You can't fully rotate around the character. Ethan Winters, for whatever reason, never wants to show his face, so we still don't know what he looks like. But it does control slightly differently. So I think if you are going to sort of incorporate both, it is going to control a bit more like Village than this one. I'd like to see them probably go full on and just let's make Resident Evil a third person game now. I think they've experimented with it. It's worked really well, and I don't mind those experiences, but I do prefer my Resident Evil in third person.
Give me it in VR every day of the week. I demand the first person mode, so they're forced to support the VR. What about you, Bully? Where do you prefer to play your Resis?
I prefer the third person as well. I think, as Unky said, they've shown over these remakes as to what they can do. Yes, 7 and 8 were great as well, but I just don't think they're quite up to the same standard in terms of doing Resi 8 in the VR. A little bit. I enjoyed it for the atmosphere, but it's a little bit clunky with trying to reload your weapons and aim your weapons and that sort of stuff. I just found it a little bit clunkier than what it probably needed to be, but I suppose that's just part and parcel of VR. Sometimes is that you do get that, but it was interesting because I was reading something the other day that the rumor going around is that Resi 9, when and if it releases, is they're going for third person. So they're going back to third person. So that's the rumor that's coming out as of only a couple of days ago. So hopefully that rings true because I think it's probably one of those things. I was big Xbox 360 and probably not so much PlayStation 3 over that generation. But since coming back onto the PlayStation in the PS4, the third person games have really that's my go-to now. Essentially, that's when you talk about your Uncharted's and your Last of Us and those sort of games, the third person and style is really where I enjoy playing it, as opposed to first person, which is what I'd probably spent the previous 10 or 15 years playing through. So the more third person that they put together, the better as far as I'm concerned. I think it plays better, it looks better, and you get a bit, as funny as it sounds not being in first person, I think you get more out of the character movement and you feel more involved with the characters, movement around the screen if it's in third person, as funny as that probably sounds.
You're not just talking about Postal 4, are you? In first-person mode, not looking great, are you?
Well, I think we need to go back to that.
All right, guys, let's wrap up our thoughts on RE4 with a score. Where are you blokes sitting?
Oh, Bully, you finished it. You give your score first.
Oh, look, 9.5.
Oh, big score from you, Unky.
Yeah, I actually can't find any fault with it at this point. So where I am currently with the game, I'm giving this the perfect score at the moment for me.
Hardcore.
I cannot find a fault with it at the moment.
Well, it gets my heart racing a bit much. I can't stand this level of terror, so it can't go higher than an 8 for me at this stage. That being said, I'm only a few hours in, 4 hours in, and only 3 chapters down. So don't put too much weight in my score. I'd certainly defer to you two blokes.
No, I was just going to say, just before we move on from Resi 4, Tigaro, Unky wants you to talk about the dog.
Oh, what a moment. It'll come up later in the standoff anyway, but what a moment with the dog that Bully apparently shot at. Instead of rescued, oh my God, they put it in a different spot in the game, so they sort of toy with you a little bit at the start of the game where you come across a dog and he's dead. You're like, oh, they're doing things differently here. The dog's dead, but then later on you do come across the dog and you rescue him and he has the same sort of reason for being there that he did in the first version of the game, is that he comes and helps you out during a certain fight. But there's one epic moment where that dog comes in and it's a cut scene and there's just a lightning strike and the dog's just sitting there and howling. It's such an amazing moment. I know Tagaro's changed his social media page to have that as his main picture. So,
well, that's going to have to give me a reason to go back and play it, because as you said, I thought it was a wolf coming out of the the woods to attack me. So I shot it, and then it ran off, and I thought, bonus.
And this is the guy that finished the game. Oh.
And I did it without the help of the wolf in the fight. So I did it all myself. I don't know. That just ramps it up a level in terms of the game skill.
That's if you got it easy, it's pretty easy to do, isn't it?
Do I need to bring this back up again?
Tagaro in the chat there, mate. Have you finished it? If not, how far in? How many hours? And what's your score, Tagaro? Give us the highlights from your point of view. While you get typing on that, I propose
I can answer half those questions for you. You've already put them in the chat. So he's up to the beginning of chapter 13. Would have liked to have got further, but he's had work and kids. So he put in 8 hours on day one, 6 on the next, and 5. And then only 6 hours over the next 5 days. So hasn't had as much time recently. But if he wants to jump in the chat and give us his overall score, where he is probably 3/4 of the way through the game, and we'll update a bit later.
Beautiful work. Thank you, Bully. Thank you, Tagaro. Game 2, Bully. This is over to you. Deceive Inc. Big thank you to the developers for sending the key our way, making our install and Let's Play available already on the channel possible. Over to you, Bully.
This one sort of came out of nowhere. It was one that Troy mentioned he got a key for. I had certainly never heard about it and didn't really know anything about it until we jumped in. I think when the day we did a Let's Play the other day was essentially while we were setting up for that, I ran through the tutorial. So the first gameplay footage you'll see there is literally the first multiplayer version or experience that I'd certainly had. And I think, Troy, you'd only played 1 or 2, but yeah, it sort of took us a couple of games to get our head around what you need to do, and essentially what the game revolves around. And it's PvP online, so you've got teams of 3, and there's various. So one team's got to go through the level. They've got to hack certain or pick up intel to be able to hack certain terminals, and then they work their way through to unlocking a vault, and then eventually unlocking some treasure. Then they then have to take to an exfiltration point. And on the flip side of that is you've got another team that's also trying to do the same thing. But if you can spot, some of the other human characters, because there's a lot of NPCs that are floating around, you can disguise yourself of them. But if you can spot one of those running around or, hacking into a terminal or whatever it is,
or sitting on the toilet,
you can shoot them and take them out of the game. And it, you can revive, your teammates can revive you, but it makes it harder for that team then to progress. So
I did some research, Billy. Sorry, just to jump in on one point. It's upwards of 4 teams of 3v, 3v3v3v3 is the maximum.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Over to you.
So no, there you go. So you've got it's this big game of cat and mouse. Is it? Do you go running towards the first objective, or do you sort of hang off and see who else goes for it, or do you skimp the first objective and go straight to the second one and hopefully cut someone off, or I think what happened to you in one of the games, Troy, is you got to the end, basically you'd got the treasure or at the exfiltration point and someone's come up behind you and popped you in the head, stole the treasure, and then they won the game. So, there's various ways to win it. It's not just an all-out shooter. It's a bit of espionage, a bit of sneaking around. You can there's various zones in each level that you need a certain costume to be able to be in. So there's areas where only guards can go, and there's areas where only technicians and stuff can go as well. And I found it really enjoyable for the time we played it. It was certainly something very different to anything I've seen online in terms of a PvP game as to the objectives and how it plays out. And it was really exhilarating when you do. I think if you have a chance to go back and watch that live stream we did, that last game we played, where we get we're the ones that got the treasure and then have to race to the exfiltration point, and then you've got to wait until that sets itself up and you get taken out of the level and win. And it's that bit of excitement and adrenaline that you get while you're going through that process and getting to the end of the level, that hopefully someone doesn't try and take you out and you can get the win. But as I said, came out of absolutely nowhere. Graphically, it's it's almost a bit of Fortnite-ish sort of style, but paired with almost
a little bit Deathloop.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Deathloop. I would have gone almost maybe Fallout-ish. So like if you could imagine Fallout before the bombs dropped and what it was all like with the computer terminals and all that, I think it's got a little bit of that in it. I like the art style and and the graphics that go with it. And the gameplay was, I think it was really enjoyable. I'd be more than happy to jump back into some multiplayer games. I don't know how much value you'd get out of it if it was just, yourself sort of plodding around. But certainly if you can get a team of, even one other person to play with, or if you can get a team of 3 together, it's certainly well worth a look at.
Is it just multiplayer, or can you play with bots?
You can't play with bots, but you can play solo online, and it will pair you up. Like, it'll find you 2 other partners, like random pickup group style. But then you've got the whole voice chat, and do you really want to be talking with people online?
Yeah, so this is more one of those games that you probably need a group of people to sort of play and actually enjoy.
Yeah, if you've got a couple of mates, this game is absolutely phenomenal. As Billy said, we played a couple of rounds and I was sort of ho-hum on it. But then, as Billy called out, and this is the footage from that game where we won it, when we finally won it, man, it turned me up to 11. I was jumping off the couch. I was punching the roof. I had an absolute blast the time Billy and I ran this and we won. It was phenomenal. Uncle, the only thing missing was you, mate. You could have been our 3rd and we could have really pounded through, because what you can do, Bully and I worked out, and I'm sure this is intended game design, but it's like you both sort of store up the credits to hack the doors, but then only one of you needs to hack it, and then the other one can follow the other one through, and then you can sort of leapfrog unlocking doors, and you can speed run it. So it really does encourage, good team cohesion, and you can really get through it quick. It is a phenomenal game. It is definitely worth checking out.
How long is a typical game that you're playing, or how long do you need to sort of
15 minutes
for a game?
We got through 3 games in 20 minutes and in an hour. So 3 games in an hour, like 3 full games. And that was with us sort of trying to work out in the first game or 2 how to play it and what your objectives were and how to find the intel and where to go for those objectives and stuff. So if once more people play it, I think, and get their head around how it is, and once you have a better understanding of it, I think 10 to 15 minutes would be the standard sort of game length. So it's probably, pretty quick jump in, jump out, just have a quick game, and then, off back to whatever else you're doing.
And when you're playing, has everyone got the same, like if you're against another team, have you got the same, like, objectives and roles? It's not like a game where someone's defending, someone's attacking, and you switch roles and go around. No, everyone's got the same.
Yeah, it's like you're all mercenaries and you've all been given the same contract. Okay. Hey, here you 4 teams. I just want this. Whoever brings it to me gets gets paid.
And is it a tutorial, or do you have to learn it yourself?
Oh, there's a tutorial which I didn't think was that great.
The tutorial
learned more playing it.
Definitely.
But that's what I was saying before about leapfrogging objectives, because it'll come up on the screen and say someone's hacked a terminal or someone's opened the vault or whatever it is. So if you don't think that you're going to be able to get to the first objective in time, you can leapfrog to the second one, and basically they can shut down the vault, but you're standing but then they have to make their way to the vault. You can be standing at the vault, have all your intel ready to unlock it. As soon as someone's unlocked all the other terminals, you just go bang and go, oh, I'm going to steal it because I'm already sitting here. So,
or you could do. Sorry, mate.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's what I mean with that bit of cat and mouse, and there's a bit of strategy involved in it. You don't just have to go straight for objective 1, 2, and 3. You could go straight to 3 or 4, or do what happened to Troy, is just sit off the exfiltration.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just wait at the exfil. Wait, let them do all the work, come to the exfil, bring it to you, shoot them, take it, game over.
And what's the comment? He said shoot. Does the shooting actually feel good, or is it like a mechanic?
It's spongy.
It's there.
It's a bit more spongy, but then we kept coming up against players who were playing, I don't know her name, a female agent with a crossbow. She's a bit sort of deeper in the roster. You've got to play a bit more to get enough in-game currency to unlock her. But it appeared as though all the top-level players were playing as her with her crossbow, which looked like it did the most damage of anything. So I think maybe in future there'll be a balance tweak to pull her down, or maybe when you unlock her, I think she's the sort of gold tier who you're aiming for. The crossbow looks like it seems to be the most effective. But old mate here that I'm firing with the pistol, I think I have to put 5 shots into someone to drop them.
Yeah, okay. What are you playing on Xbox, PlayStation?
PS5.
PS5. Is it cross-play? I feel like
yes.
A game like this, I was going to say probably need it, given the fact that it's probably going to have a smaller player base. You're probably going to want to be pulling from PC, PS5, and Xbox.
Yeah, I think the longest I waited for a game, as Billy said, I played a couple before him, and then we played a couple together. I think the longest I waited for a game was like a minute and a half on the outside, and that's with cross-play enabled, obviously. So the player base is already there. I mean, the only carrot or the only gold that could be added to this, or layer of icing, if you will, would be for it to hit Game Pass or PlayStation Plus and then have that massive influx of players where you're just straight into it.
I think you kind of need to. I think the problem at the moment is we're seeing across the board so many of these sort of live service multiplayer only games that aren't Fortnite just tend to go away very quickly. So that's the problem. I think if you once you have that initial player base at the start, everyone's playing it, it's new, whatever, it's fresh. And then within a couple of weeks, there's the next game like this that's out there that everyone's playing. Everyone drops off this or goes back to Fortnite or goes back to Apex Legends. So that's the problem I think I find with this. I feel for the developers creating anything sort of solely multiplayer these days because you pretty much, in the world that we live in at the moment, a lot of those aren't lasting.
Yeah, very true, mate. Although this one, like next to Fortnite, this is the one that appears from my eye to have the longest legs on it for actually still having its head above water in, 6-8 months sort of thing.
Oh, well, I hope so, because even Multiverses is apparently it's not even in the news tonight. It probably should have been, but they've mentioned that they're moving out of beta phase. I thought they already did that, and they're going away for 6 months and apparently coming back for a full release by the end of the year. So
is that to say they've taken all their servers offline?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So it's I don't know whether they kept that under wraps because as far as I was concerned, it was in a beta stage and they released the game and you could obviously spend money on it in the store. And now they're saying no, the beta phase is over. We're going to go away. We're going to do all this stuff to it, and we'll see you in 6 months. So I'll be very surprised if we do see them in 6 months. But I just think the writing's on the wall for a lot of these online multiplayer games. But I'm happy this one seemingly seems quite good. So.
Yeah, and shout out, of course, this one isn't full price. This is a discounted game as well. So it is just a multiplayer, but you're not paying a full price. So I think it's fair price on it. Sorry, Billy.
I was just going to say, I think the reason this one might have a fighting chance is because it's a little bit different to everything else in terms of the online space. And I think when we were playing it, Troy, I sort of compared it a little bit to Among Us, that it had that sort of, hunting out the I don't know what they call it in Among Us, the
intruder,
imposter,
the imposter. So there's a little bit of that is trying to find out who the human players are and who are the NPC and trying to work out that. So you've got a little bit of that aspect to it. I think that given that Among Us got really big, it did take a little while for that to catch on and get pretty big. But I think in terms of the online space, if they've done something different enough, in my opinion, that. Time will tell whether it actually plays out and sticks around long term. But I think doing that has given them the best opportunity to stick around long term.
Yeah, I absolutely love this game. As we already said, if you've got a small group of players that you're on with and can frequently get on multiplayer, definitely give this one a look in. It's really something special, especially once you win one. Once you get a win under your belt, and what did we get? 3 or 4 trophies off a win, Billy?
Oh, it was like I'd hit the jackpot in the slots. They were just pinging off left, right, and centre.
Probably half the reason my brain went up to 11. Ding, ding, ding. Hello. We got a winner here. I love that. Anyway, definitely worth checking out. I absolutely love it. I don't know. I've only put in maybe 2 hours at this point, or maybe 2.5, 3. But for me, it's easy sitting a solid 8.5. How about you, Billy?
Oh, I'd probably be a bit lower, maybe a 7-ish, I would have thought. Again, time will tell. Like, you could put more time into it and it'd drag it up that extra couple of points, or it could conversely be the other thing is that it wears out pretty thin. I'm not sure. You'd have to probably put a good solid, I reckon, 10 to 15 matches in it to work out some of the systems behind it in terms of your progression and how that sort of plays out in the different levels and whether there is going to be any sort of longevity to it. But certainly after the first 2 or 3 hours of playtime, it's I don't think it's not worth a look at. If it's something that is, as I said, it's different, and if you're looking for something different in the online space, then this might fit the bill.
And the last thing I'll say on it in the plus category for me is it really does, you've reminded me of the pokies, mate. It's really got that gambling element to it. Do I just go for the objectives or do I gamble and hang back, let someone else do all the work and then just come in for the cheeky win at the end? And, it is the class or quality of your opponents as well. It's a bit poker-like as, do I reveal my hand now and do I start sprinting or do I have to really keep calm and just stroll through this map and sort of stay undetected? There's a lot of layers of mechanics here. It's very enjoyable. This is us rushing towards the finish. If you want to see the full thing, check out the channel. It's on there. But on to game 3 this evening, and I'll take it with this one. Tagaro, shout out for you. This is Death in the Water 2. I've jumped on. I've gone hands-on. I think I've put 2 hours into it, I want to say. I'd have to double check the clock. Relatively confident it's 2 hours. What you're looking at here is dive number 3. So there's the intro, like tutorial bit, and then there's dives 1, 2, 3. This is dive number 3 here, and I'm starting to work out exactly how this game rolls. And it initially sort of says, oh, you don't have to fight the sharks. Leave them be, and if they attack you, attack them, but otherwise let them go. No. I think the real way to play this game is if it swims, kill it. Because it's got this mechanic where they say, like, okay, like, here's this shipwreck and there's 3 treasure chests in or around the shipwreck. Go and pilfer them. And the treasure chests give you the gold, and the gold lets you upgrade, your weapons and your equipment, your dive gear and all the rest of it. So it makes all sense. But I noticed after you get 2 chests, they go to, they've got a name for it and I'm blanking on it. Poseidon mode. I'm making that up. I don't know. But like all the wildlife in the area turns on you. So you're sort of 2 chests deep, you're getting gold, and then suddenly you become the real target and sharks come in from everywhere. But you can thin the herd early. You go in, guns blazing, take him out, and they've got a soft spot right under the chin. If you can get the lucky shot in under the chin, you can one-shot them. Boom, the sharks go down. Otherwise, you're dropping, 3 or 4 darts in the head off the top side before you can drop them. Anyway, phenomenal game. I love the underwater mechanics. I've been snorkeling a few times, or diving, sorry, is the word I'm looking for. I've been diving, and it's true to life. It feels like it's got that underwater, slow, sluggish feel to it. Like, and after you've shot, it takes a bit of time to reload. Not that I've ever shot a harpoon gun, but I can appreciate underwater trying to load a harpoon gun would be an arduous task. It's not like, you're in a Call of Duty and you just flipping out mags on an AK-47 without water resistance. There's a bit of time, and that adds to the terror. I got to say, this invokes my fear of drowning. It invokes my fear of being shark food at some point. I don't like this. Like, Resident Evil has me on edge, but I'll always go back for more. This game is so terrifying. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to man enough to go back and finish this. I've done, as I said, the first 3 dives. I love what they've done. What they've done, they've implemented beautifully. Shout out to the development team. Name I'm blanking on, but it's only 2 people. This whole game's done by 2 people. Just a fantastic effort. You see the shark swim past, and it's got its little, I don't know, what do you call a baby shark? Is it a cub? Whatever it is. But they're the mother shark, so I kind of feel bad about shooting them because they're mothers and they got their kids right there. But I know if I don't turn the dart gun on them, as soon as I pop that second chest, there's going to be 3 of them out of nowhere just nibbling me to death. So
it turns out you were the monster all along.
I don't think there's ever been a question about that, mate.
But shout out to G.E.A for helping fund this game as well over the last couple of weeks.
Indeed, thank you very much, G.E.A. It is a totally unique experience. I've never played a game like it. It's well worth it. Next time you boys are in the studio, you're both going goggles on, dart guns, I don't know what you call it, harpoon guns up. You boys have to play this when you're in the studio. You get the audio cranking. It's terrifying. And that slow water resistance move when there's a shark circling and you can't quite see it, it's absolutely terrifying. I love the game, but I'm just not man enough. I don't have the balls to be almost drowning in shark food. I can't handle it. It puts me on edge.
I have to say, I do like when he looks down, you can see his flippers moving and swimming and stuff. That's like you get with a 2-man team, you could easily get away with not having any body at all when you look down. But the fact that his flippers are all going, his legs going, it's a nice little touch there.
And the turning circle and everything, like, they've got the movement in this matching underwater movement in real life, like better than half the first-person shooters I played, just running above ground, even not holding a gun, but just running above ground, holding anything. That's got a certain feel to it that so many games don't even bother implementing. But this game feels exactly like swimming underwater, and everything's got a slow, and there's a long arc to turning, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. I'm just not man enough to finish it off, I don't think. So, G.E.A, thank you very much for, as Unky said, funding the purchase of the game, giving me a very unique experience in gaming. I've never played anything like it. I truly appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for the recommendation and funding it. It's been a lot of fun, an eye-opening, terrifying experience, but I'm not sure I'll be going back. Unky Dunky, Bully, any questions?
No, for me, I just G.E.A just mentioned in the chat that Lighthouse Gaming is the studio that developed this game.
Perfect work. Thank you, G.E.A, for the assist. Bully, any thoughts from your side?
Oh, I just in the chat with Tagara there. It actually does look. It does look like a pretty decent looking game for a studio of two, as you said. And I didn't. Did you mention? Is it VR? I might have missed that at the start. Can you?
No, it's not VR.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
I don't think
yeah,
I could
yeah.
handle it. Do not think I could handle a VR experience like this.
I reckon this is prime for a VR release. I reckon, given what it is and being underwater and stuff, especially with something like the PSVR 2, with its graphical fidelity and eye tracking, I think this would be great as an experience.
It would, but honestly, it would be too scary. I couldn't handle it. I would seriously be holding my breath the whole.